Welcome to the TK Show with the Athletic Bay Area's editor-in-chief, Tim Kawakami.
Everybody, Tim Kawakami here, TK Show, coming from Levi Stadium in a nice office room here provided by the 49ers. I appreciate. Here with 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan, a day after his first head coaching victory in the NFL. Kyle, I mean, you did your press conference, asked a little bit about that, but that scene in the locker room, which we saw on the video, pretty wild. You were getting bumped around there pretty good too, weren't you? I mean, what was that like to be in the middle of it? Did it seem like it was a release of emotion there? And were you releasing some emotion too?
I mean, it was more awkward for me. Mm-hmm. You know, we were all excited. I was pumped to see the players excited. But anytime they bring a coach in the middle of the circle and throw water on him, start jumping around and stuff, my dance moves are rusty. So I tried to creep to the back and let them do
John
their thing.
kind of stayed out of it, I saw.
Yeah, he's bigger. He can handle the bumps and stuff. If I get pushed around in there, it could be bad.
It does. It almost felt like it looked like a playoff victory. And I know was some of you like saying, okay, I saw you on the sideline, like you were trying to stay in control,
yeah.
And then it got a little emotional. Were you, at some point, you're thinking, okay, wait a minute, now we are 1-9 here, not 9-1.
No doubt. I mean, you'd like to act like you've been there before, but we hadn't this year. So, that was our first one, and we were excited. I mean, it was genuine. There wasn't – I mean, that's how guys wanted to act because that's how we felt. It's, when you do lose 9 in a row, as bad as it is, it definitely makes you appreciate a win. And these wins don't come easily. We definitely plan on doing that a lot more. But it's been a grind to get that one in. And once we got that, I think, people were putting a lot into it. It meant a lot to guys. Guys, it meant a lot to our players, a lot to our coaches, a lot to our organization. I'm sure it meant a lot to our fans, and I think you saw that after.
So you go through 0-9 and a lot of tight losses, a couple not tight losses. Was there a moment where you were particularly felt, man, this doesn't feel good? I mean, can you look back and say, I mean, I think of the Arizona game where I'm pretty sure you thought you should have won that game. And are there other moments you go, okay, that was when it really didn't feel great, right?
Yeah, I think the hardest moment for me was after the Philly game, because I felt very, I knew going into this year, we weren't just going to line up and walk away with wins, which I don't think anyone in this team, in this league does. But I felt we had gotten ourselves to a position going into the year that I felt we were going to have a chance in every game that we played. And, even though we didn't get those wins, that's how I think it was at the beginning of the year. There was every game I thought we had a chance in, setting an NFL record for losing 5 in a row by 3 points or less isn't a record you want to set. And we definitely, I believe, should have won most of those 5, but we didn't. But when you look at the film and stuff from those games, it was easy to come to work knowing, hey, we didn't get it done, but we can get this done, and we're going to get better from this. And after that Philly game, it was tougher because just all the injuries that hit in that game. And you know how close you've been, and then you have all those injuries, and you got to take a couple steps back, and it's, all right, we got to redo some things. You can't keep building this the way we were going. We got to figure out how to survive in some areas. And to go into that Arizona game, I thought we had a chance to win that, definitely. I don't think I've ever gone into a game not feeling like you have a chance to win. But I also knew that was the most beat up that I had been on a team in my career. And to lose all those guys in the first half early and then juice in the third quarter in that Arizona game, it was a different feeling. And, it was frustrating because I believe we had a chance to win that, and we came up short. And to go into this week, just coming in, looking at the injuries, putting a plan together, talking to the guys about how we had to play our best to get a win in. It was a challenge for everybody, and I think the guys rallied close together. They didn't make excuses. They went back to work and had a great work of practice. Guys were locked in. You could see it in not how they talked, but how they moved. You could see it in their eyes. It was really important to guys to finish this and get a win in, and we found a way to do that. And I think that's why you saw us react the way we did.
I always picture and imagine that you and John are I call you options guys. Like you have a big board and you plan through things. You maybe game plan the roster, game plan how you're going to get a quarterback, you game plan the draft. Was knowing the roster you inherit, and I know you don't want to rip anybody, but is it possible you think this might be a 0-16, 1-15 kind of year when you started the season?
No, I never thought that because you always, not injuries happen in the NFL. So you go into, I felt we got ourselves in a position where, hey, I mean, it's what I said at the beginning of this. Hey, I think we can have a chance. We're going to have a chance in every game. We've added some guys. It's going to be hard work, but if we play good football, we don't turn this over, we can have a chance to win every game we play in. And then when you do go through those injuries and your depth isn't quite where you want it at, you are trying to rebuild to a degree. I mean, just taking over the team that we have with the record that it was the last couple of years, trying to turn over some of the roster with draft picks and some free agencies, and trying to really just reestablish your culture and try to build something. If everything goes perfect and you have no injuries, you feel great. But that was what I was worried about going into the year, is what happens if you do have it at all of these key spots, because you got a lot of young guys in some of those areas.
Did you think you're going to have this much roster turnover? Is this, by what magnitude is this different than what you thought you were going to get into? Obviously, you knew you were going to change over. You knew your draft picks were going to be very important.
No, it's about what I expected.
Really?
Yeah, playing against this team late last year, and I know they were banged up. Bad, so they're going through some of the same injuries. But I knew before we got here that we were going to turn over a bunch of the roster. I also knew there was a lot of the roster here that we were excited about. So we did as much as we could through the free agency and the draft, and then the guys that were here, we tried to get them implemented in our system, because we changed it on both sides of the ball and special teams, trying to get the reps for these guys just to improve. And I was pretty excited and confident going into the year. That's why those close games were tough. And I think, when you keep losing those close ones, it's like, all right, hey, we're going to find a way to win the next one. And that's why I say, I felt pretty good until after that Philly game, when all those injuries started to hit and then got even worse versus Arizona. That's when I was like, all right, we got to reset this and figure out how we can get our team competitive again with some of these injuries that have been coming, at least till we get healthy.
I sense that much of the approach that you take with the media is very similar to what you take with the players. The players seem to say the same things too. How hard is it then, just either way, to get in front of us after every loss, or get in front of your players to try to be the same guy, even though the losses are piling up?
It is a challenge. It would be hard if I had to go up there and make stuff up, and I don't feel like I've had to yet. And you guys
let us know when you do. Okay,
you'll see. I will struggle if I have to do that. And every day I come into these players, or every Monday, even after those 9 losses in a row, and we can watch the tape, and there are things that I feel that we can do better. There hasn't been a game I've come in and just been upset with the lack of effort. The 2 games I was probably the most disappointed in was the Indy game and the Dallas game. I felt we didn't play our best versus Indy, and I felt like that was a huge opportunity we missed. And the Dallas game, I thought we came out, the effort was there, but I thought there was a little time in the third quarter where we lost that a bit. I thought we finished stronger with it. But besides that, I've been proud of a lot of stuff we put on tape. I haven't been proud of the results. But when you come in and you talk to guys and you're dealing with that stuff, it does make it easier. You're not sitting here and have to beg guys to play hard, begging guys not to quit. We haven't had those type of people, and that's what has been impressive to me, because everyone talks about what's your culture going to be like, what are you going to do, and I don't believe you just build a culture, you build people, and if you get the right type of people, the culture follows that. And I feel like that's what we've been trying to do here, get the right people here, the people that football are very important to, that they care about winning more than anything else, and they're willing to do all this stuff to dedicate themselves to win and to be part of the organization 7 days a week, not just on Sunday. And I feel if you can fill your organization up with those type of people, the whole culture thing it becomes secondary. It happens naturally.
How tough was it to have the discussions with some of the veterans? I'm talking, Bowman would be the number one. I know he talked with Lynch mostly, but a guy who's meant so much to this franchise still meant something in that locker room. When you say, okay, we're going through this roster and maybe this isn't the right situation for you, are those discussions tough for you?
Yeah, they are tough, especially when you respect someone the way I did Bo. I think the way everyone does. Bo's jersey was the first jersey I bought my son. So, to see him wearing that every night and to go home and tell him, sorry, buddy, but you're not here anymore. I mean, that's a tough deal. And I know how good of a player Bo's been for this organization. This is my chance just getting to know him, and I know how good of a guy he is. I really enjoyed getting to know Bo. But sitting down and talking to him, we weren't going to BS each other. He keeps it very real. So do I. And it got to a point where we needed to talk about it. And we were very open with each other. We said a lot. I told him a lot how I felt about the organization, how I saw him in it. He told me how he felt. And it was a very constructive, good conversation. I have a lot of respect for how he handled it. I think he would say the same about me. And I thought it ended as well as it could. And I do believe truly that it was better for Bo, and I do believe it was better for the 49ers in the long run.
Let's talk about that Jimmy Garoppolo trade. I was here that day, and I remember you at the podium, and yeah, you were kind of rushing it through. I imagine there were some things in your mind. What was the first reaction you had when John says, I assume it was John told you that New England has just reached out and they want to do this trade?
I was surprised. I hadn't heard about it in a little bit, and wasn't expecting it to come up when it did. And for it to come up, I was surprised and kind of, was thinking about a lot of other things besides that. And when that came up, I had to reset a little bit where I was thinking, not so much about the week or this year, but I had to think about the big picture. I was definitely thinking about injuries, and I remember coming in that Monday morning with a bunch of thoughts, and I remember going to bed that night, and I remember saying to my wife, "Is like, man, it's crazy. I left this morning talking about all these things, and now I'm going to bed, and Jimmy Garoppolo's on our team as one of our quarterbacks. So wow, if things change." But I was excited, and for that to get that opportunity, as a coach, you hear that and you're like, wait a second, how are you going to fit this in? Wait, this is a weird time in the year, but then when you think about the opportunity to get him, what's ahead and things like that, how much I've believed in the guys, studying him and everything. It's like it doesn't matter the timing. This is too good of an opportunity to pass up, and this is something that I know will help our organization.
Again, I go up to the game planning. I imagine that you and John do. Did you have like a list of quarterbacks you might want? And I can imagine there might have been a few names. Is that kind of how it worked as you go into this season or go into the off season even?
Yeah, well, right when we got here, you look at everything available. You look at all the stuff on your roster. Then you go into who are all the quarterbacks that are going to be available in free agency. Then you look at all the guys who you think there's possible guys to trade for. And then you look at all the guys going into the draft. And that's everything that we did from the first day we got here. I remember sitting down and meeting with Bill Belichick at Indy just to talk about some football stuff, and we talked about a ton of things, and started talking about asking him if any players were available on his team. And very quickly, when I asked about his quarterback, he said no. So that was really the end of the discussion for us and Jimmy. All the way back in February, he wasn't interested at the time, which I think says a lot about Jimmy. And so we left it alone after that and started to explore other avenues. And that's why we looked at our free agent market and the quarterbacks that were available. And we ended up going with Brian for the free agency, looked through the draft, ended up getting CJ with one of the last picks in the third round. And we felt good about that. With the opportunities that were provided, we felt we did a good thing for our team. Didn't make a huge commitment anyway, but we felt like we really upgraded the position. And then when Bill did reach out and let him know that there was a possibility, revisited how I felt in February. If he would have told us there was a possibility in February, probably would have been pretty intrigued by that then, and definitely would have considered doing something then.
Is this a judgment at all on the quarterbacks that are coming up in this year's draft? I mean, didn't you have to think about that when you make this trade?
Yeah, I think you do. I think that's one of the hard things. It comes down and there's a trade deadline. You have to make those decisions, and you can sit there and say, yeah, you can pass up something for, you might have the most perfect scenario. You might have the first pick in the draft. You look in all these what ifs, and I don't know what our draft choice is going to be. I don't know who's coming out next year. Those are lots of things you can't control. What we did know was we had the chance to get Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick, and we felt very good about that. And so we felt the worst-case scenario, we're getting a hell of a quarterback, and that's what we can control right now. So that's, to me, what made it an easy decision. If you were guaranteed everything, you could tell the future. I feel you could be picky with some things like that, but you can't. What we did have was, everyone in this league is trying to get quarterbacks, and there's not many teams that really have that set one that they're good with for a while. And whenever you have an opportunity to get someone like that, I feel, in my experience, you can't hesitate. You can't sit there and go, yeah, but what if this, what if that? Those what ifs aren't guaranteed. You got to react when you get those ops.
So you guys off the quarterback market then?
You're always looking for quarterbacks, and you always look to upgrade your team. But I feel very good about the quarterbacks we have in our building now, so by no means do I feel we need to upgrade ourselves. I think CJ's shown that he can compete in this league. We'll see how far he can go with that, but I think he's shown so far in what he's been doing that he can play in this league. I think Jimmy, from coming out of college to the games that he has played, to studying him in the preseason, to talking to a lot of people in the New England building, I think he has a lot of promise and showed that he could be a very good quarterback in this league. So I'm very excited about the guys we have. We'll never stop evaluating and looking. Anytime you have an opportunity to get the best quarterback possible, the best running back possible, the best O-lineman, whoever it is, you owe it to your organization to always try to get the best possible, but I'm pretty excited about the guys we got.
Just watching Jimmy throw, and just in warm-ups, right? It's not not live, it's all we can see. He just throws the ball so nicely. Is that what jumps off to you in practice? Is it translated in practice where he just looks like he's like a guy?
No, the way he throws, the quick twitch that he has in his body, his release and the zip that the ball comes off, I think everyone can see right away. That's what shows that he is a very talented guy. The level of how good of a quarterback you become has to do with how you play in the pocket, how you see the field, how you can handle the rush, how you can anticipate throws, anticipate coverages, lots of stuff that you just can't see right away. You got to be around a guy, you got to feel it, you got to see him go through some adversity, go through some tough situations, and I think Jimmy has the ability to be a very good quarterback, and as time gets going and he's thrown in some more situations, I think he'll continue to show that he has the ability to be a very good one.
Given his contractual situation, and obviously we know you can franchise tag him, you can do various other things. Don't you need to see him in games? I know you value practices, and I completely understand that. But given the magnitude of this decision and the numbers that could be on the table here, don't you need to see him in some games this season?
Well, that's what I don't stress about it as much. I don't think you need to. I would like to. And hopefully that works out for him and for our team. But when you talk about having the franchise tag, you talk about having, you have those rights to a player once you trade for him. There isn't where, hey, we got to figure this out in 8 games or now 7 games or you're out of luck. And we can have Jimmy. We plan on having Jimmy. And regardless of what happens this year, we're not going to put Jimmy into a situation that he's only prepared a few weeks for and say, hey, however you do is going to dictate your contract and us for the next whatever. I think he's set himself up in this league to be in a pretty good situation. I think he's respected throughout this league, and I hope that we can groom. I hope we can groom Jimmy, put him in a good situation, and I hope to get him a contract that he will deserve eventually.
Talked about when you're coming here, when Jed York's talking to you. When did the prospect of a 6-year contract come up? It is sort of unprecedented, and I think it's a huge part of what's here is the players know you and John aren't going anywhere. Who came up? Was that your premise? Was that your idea? And what did it mean to you?
I actually think Jed was the first one who brought up the years. I think my biggest thing to him was that my goal wasn't just to become a head coach. My goal was to stay a head coach. And I know in order to do that, you need to win. And I wanted to make sure that if I was going to go into a situation that I was going to have the time that I felt with the help of a general manager to build it the right way, to put us in a situation to have some sustained success. And looking at, the roster and how it had gone for them the previous couple years, I knew that it wasn't going to be easy right away, especially without a quarterback on the roster that was going to be under contract. And so I knew with that we were going to need some time. And you never know. You could hit a gold mine right away and it could happen good for you right away, or you'd have to work and wait till that opportunity came around. And that was very important to me, what I told Jed. It wasn't necessarily about the money or about the situation. It was that, hey, if I want to come, if this works out to come here, I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to stay here, and that we're going to be committed to doing this the right way, committed to building it the right way, and not just trying our hardest to get to 500 or to get to the playoffs, but to have a team that can have sustained success where you feel you're competing to be in a championship year in, year out, and that does take time. And I told Jed that was the most important thing to me, and I do believe he was the first one that said that he would do a 6-year contract.
Is there something now that you've learned you would tell yourself at the start of this process that was important, the significant thing that was a little different than you're imagining this was going to be?
It's hard to say. A lot of not much stuff has surprised me. The little things, just day to day, everyone tells you, it's your day's going to be so different, and it was at first. I couldn't come in and just do my exact schedule as a coordinator. I had to deal with some other stuff and had to answer to Bob a lot more and stuff.
You can just ignore him.
Yeah. I had to do a lot more media things and things like that. But at the end of the day, I've been, I got to grow up the son of a head coach. I've been around football offices for a long time. I think ever since I got in the NFL, even as a quality control to a receiver coach to a quarterback coach, I've always thought bigger picture. I've always thought about the defense, the offense, everything, the salary cap, drafts. I think that's one of the benefits of growing up in the business and just being, I don't remember many dinner table conversations from middle school on that didn't have to do with Dad, what free agents are we going to get this year? Who are you going to take in this draft? And so I've just always thought that way. So, to get the opportunity to be a head coach, it was exciting to come in and be able to make these decisions and look into things with John and the whole personnel department he's put together. Everything is, it's been what I've thought. I thought we would definitely get some wins earlier. That definitely takes a toll on you. But there's nothing I would do differently. I'm excited about where we're going. Definitely want to get us winning some more. But I'm looking forward to these next 6 games once we get back from this bye week, and I'll be really looking forward to next year once the season ends.
Can you ever imagine hiring a senior offensive assistant maybe to take a little bit of the offensive game planning load off you? I understand this year you want to get in, but could you see that happening?
Yeah, I would if that's what that person would do. But I think that's what people get a little confused about. I mean, I could go hire some senior offensive assistant who's been a former coordinator or former head coach who doesn't know our offense, and they wouldn't be able to help us at all. I got a bunch of guys in our office who have worked in the system for a long time. What you're bringing up, I have a number of guys who already do that. We have guys who game plan goal line for us throughout the week, game plan short yardage, who game plan the run game, who game plan third down, who do red zone. Yes, I'm involved in all of it, and I'm the one who has to end up calling it. So I have to believe in it, and I got to see how we're practicing it. But these guys set up the practices, the reps we go against, all the blitzes and looks that we have, and it's something we kind of all work out throughout the week to then I kind of form it how I'm going to call it on Sunday.
All right, I'll ask the question I ask everybody on the podcast. Here we go. He's prepped here. He's good and prepped. Kyle, what's your favorite restaurant?
All right. Well, I haven't been out too much here, so usually DoorDash is the thing I use the most.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad.
But when we have gone out, I go to Nick's next door and I go to Loma's, both in Los Gatos.
What's your dish there? What's your favorite dish there?
The meatloaf. The meatloaf, and then I always just get wings at Loma. Good brewing company, so I go there for a couple beers.
This guy's prepared. He walked into this with us all ready to go. I appreciate that. Listen, I don't want to take too much of your time, Kyle. Really appreciate this. Great to have you on.
I enjoyed it. No problem.
Everybody, that's the TK Show. Kyle Shanahan. Thanks, everybody.